Cages or wings, which do you prefer? Ask the birds. Fear or love, baby, don't say the answer. Actions speak louder than louder than louder than louder than louder than cages or wings, which do you prefer? Ask the birds. Fear or love, baby, don't say the answer. Actions speak louder, louder than louder than. They speak louder, louder than louder than. Actions speak louder than.
Hello and welcome to Keen Company. I'm Jonathan Silverstein, the artistic director, and I am thrilled that you've joined us for tonight's After Hours with our special guest, Thomas J. Ryan. For those of you who are new here, Keen is an off-Broadway theater company in New York that creates theater that champions identification and connection through stories about the decisive moments that change us. Generally, you will find us on 42nd Street, right in the heart of the theater district, but today we are coming to you virtually. I'd like to start today's event with a land acknowledgement. We do this to recognize the long history of the territory where we live and work and its significance for the indigenous peoples who lived and continue to live here, and to demonstrate our commitment to addressing the legacy of colonialism in our work and practices. I am speaking to you today from Brooklyn, which is the traditional land of the Munsee Lenape people. Since our activities tonight are shared digitally to the internet, we'd also like to acknowledge and consider the legacy of colonialization embedded within the technologies, structures, and ways of thinking we use every day. We are using equipment and high-speed internet not available in many indigenous communities. Even the technologies that are central to much of the art we make leave significant carbon footprints, contributing to changing climates that disproportionately affect indigenous peoples worldwide. We invite you to join us in acknowledging this, as well as our shared responsibility to make good use of this time, and for each of us to consider our roles in reconciliation, decolonization, and allyship. Well, let me welcome aboard my fantastic co-hosts and cohorts, Ashley DeGiorgi and Billy Reese.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi.
Hello and welcome back.
We're back.
It's great to be back. No echoes right now, right?
No echoes.
No echoes.
I want to give our audience a little sneak peek into the process here at Keen After Hours. We had some echo problems backstage, but we're great now. That's amazing.
That's a little peek behind the curtain.
A little peek behind the curtain. We love it. Behind the emerald curtain.
Mm-hmm. Happy March 1st, everyone.
I can't believe it's March 1st. I'm in utter shock.
A year.
A year. We went a year.
525,600 minutes. I mean,
don't ask me how I'd measure that.
No. I got nothing.
And very apropos, we're at the 25th anniversary of Rent.
You are correct.
Oh.
You are correct. And I think next week we will be able to talk a lot more about Rent with our special guest.
Yes.
But we'll get to that in a little bit. I think now what we can do is bring out this week's special guest. So exciting. Folks, please welcome a Keen Company alum, friend of Keen, was in Travels with My Aunt, among many other Johnny Silverstein classic productions. Please welcome the great Thomas J. Ryan.
Woo!
Hi, kids.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi, Thomas.
I'm good. I'm so happy to be here. I have such love for your theater company. And I think of all of the theater companies, you guys have managed to keep the damn thing moving over the last year. I mean, I really don't know anybody who's done it quite the way you have. Congratulations. I think you're great.
Oh, well, thank you. We think you're great, and we're thrilled to have you with us today. I like to start After Hours with giving a little bit of an introduction to how we know Mr. Thomas J. Ryan. Well, first of all, as Billy mentioned, Thomas has appeared in 2 King Company productions. The first one was In the Matter of J. Robert Oppenheimer. That was before I was artistic director, directed by Carl Forsman. And then again in Travels with My Aunt, which I did direct and was the artistic director. I think we're talking 2015, perhaps? But let's go back even before then. So I first became aware of Thomas's work. I'm going to say Tom's work. I can't remember which was first. It was either Henry Fool or Richard Foreman's production of Venus.
Oh, we'll talk about that one.
I distinctly remember.
I've got some thoughts on my mind about that.
I distinctly remember you. And then I think I then remember seeing you in Sin at the New Group, also directed by Carl, then saw Oppenheimer, then saw you in a gazillion shows, and then I was doing a little play called The Temperamentals, or, we were sort of looking at doing The Temperamentals, and we were looking for a lead actor, and I was like, it has to be Tom Ryan. He's amazing. He is perfect for this role. I mean, perfect. And I remember we got together at that little, it used to be called like Tasty Delight or something, over by Madison Square Park, and I was incredibly nervous.
Had we met by that meeting, or was that the first time I met you?
I think we had maybe met via Keen. I'm pretty sure we had met via Keen, but it was the first time we had really sat down together. And I was like, oh my God, I'm sitting with like one of New York's best actors. Holy moly, I got to make a good impression.
Stop. John Marins was with you, wasn't he?
Yep.
Wasn't it the 3 of us? And I remember that we talked about the play, and then I went to the bathroom, and when I came back, the 2 of you said, we want you to do the play. This is exactly how such things should work.
Yep.
And good things in my career have always come like that. They've never been auditions, ever, never once. So that was how we began.
Well, I kind of pinch myself, and I kind of think like, 30-year-old Johnny would be shocked to know that he was going to work with such amazing people. And of course, working with you has been one of the highlights of
thank you.
Career.
Thank you.
And I mean, beyond The Temperamentals, the Travels with My Aunt was perhaps one of the most joyous experiences I have ever had, with an amazing cast, and also an amazingly fertile creative room all the freaking time.
Yeah, I feel the same way about that show. That show was like a testament to, because the last show I did before the shutdown had months of rehearsal and then months of previews. And then, that show, Travels with My Aunt, had 3 weeks. We had nowhere near enough time to do that play, where everybody was playing 10 parts, and it was, it was so confusing. I've never done a first preview where I literally didn't think I knew the lines. We had to have a person in the front row with the script because I was that frightened. But it was so great. It's like what you think summer stock would be, but it never is. It was really like that, except elevated in every way. That set design was great. Those other actors, oh my God, I love all 3 of them. Dan Jenkins, Rory Cults, and Jay Russell. And we had just a great time. It was just fun.
It was so fun. You were freaking hilarious. And I do remember thinking, this was my third season at Keen. And I do remember thinking, I really feel like this is my theater company now. Because I remember just the joy we had, and also the good work that we did. And it just felt right. So,
yeah, that was that was a joyous one from the very beginning. I didn't even get the part or even agree to do the part, I don't think, until like shortly before. And then Terry and I were in Europe on a vacation, and I missed the first 3 days of rehearsal. All of this seemed wrong, but then it ended up being great. You know.
I remember calling you and sort of saying like, okay, I've got a crazy role for you to consider. It's this play, and you'd be playing Aunt Augusta.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, I think I said yes in like 2 minutes. I mean, I knew Travels with My Aunt. There's a movie that's not that good of it with Maggie Smith, and but I remembered the piece, and I remembered the conceit of this idea that 4 guys would play everything, and so it was a no-brainer, and it was a really happy time.
Well, okay, so we want to delve a little bit into Thomas J. Ryan, and you've worked with some crazy, incredible directors, which we'll get to. But before we get there, can you tell us a little bit about maybe some of your early experiences acting? Perhaps, you know, a moment that you were like, I'm kind of into this.
Well, you know, I didn't really want to be an actor in the beginning. My first job of choice was priest.
Really?
Yes. And this was when I was 5.
Sure.
Or so. And I wanted to be a priest, and I was an only child. And so what I would do is I would put the coffee table in the living room into the middle of the room. And then I would make my parents come in and kneel down on the other side of the coffee table, and I would do my mass. And then I'd take Ritz crackers and I would give them for communion, these Ritz crackers. And that was sort of I didn't know it at the time, but that was acting.
It was definitely a theater piece. I love that.
Well, it was very performative, right? I think priests, you know, if you ever talk to priests, they're always really into the theater. They're always really into talking, in my experience, about, you know, plays and so forth. But then the next thing I wanted to be was an airline stewardess.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. Listen to me. Hear this out. So my father was in the Air Force.
It's a captive audience again. So
all right. Yeah. Well, that's right. Now, my father had been in the Air Force. He'd been a pilot. And we flew a lot when I was a kid. I was on a lot of airplanes. So my father would always sit beside me, and he would say, you know, he would tell me what the pilot and the co-pilot were doing, you know, as we would taxi, and then we'd get to the runway and the takeoff. He'd say, okay, now the captain's saying that. And I think he was doing this to try to hook me into wanting to be a pilot. But to me, I felt like, wow, that all sounds really stressful. I mean, it sounds really stressful up there. I don't think I want to do that. But this person here, who's like flirting with people and serving sandwiches, they get to be on the plane just as much as the pilot does. So I think that's the gig for me. So that was a couple of years where I don't think they had the heart to tell my poor soul. I was 7 years old. There was no such thing as a male flight attendant in 1970. It was like, you know, and the larger implications sort of didn't occur to anybody, I don't think. But then we moved to Germany, and I watched television. And it was when I watched television that I would see little kids in movies. And I didn't really want to be the actor, but I would always ask, how did they get in? How did they get to be in the story? How did they get to be? And that was sort of the beginning for me. And then I was in community theater. I have a very ordinary sort of story from there. I went to Carnegie Mellon to study acting and so forth. But yeah, there was something about being a loner as a kid. You know, I was being raised in a foreign country with a foreign language, and I didn't have brothers or sisters. And I had a great childhood. It was fantastic. But you know, I went into my imagination, and I lived kind of in my imagination. And so by the time we moved back to America in the mid 70s, I was really intent on being an actor. And my parents were incredibly supportive of that. You know, I look back now and I think, how frightening is that to have your only child say that's what they want to do? I mean, children are so arrogant, and we always think, you know, well, of course, you know, I'm going to do something great. But it's scary, I think. So I had a great childhood, and I was acting very quickly, and I never thought of anything else after that. And
Did
the
you
first
learn-
years were rough.
Did you learn German? Were you fluent in German as a
I
young
was
kid?
completely fluent, and my parents always were struggling with it. And then when we moved back, within a year, I'd lost it.
Oh, sure. Because you're just not surrounded in
It's
it.
just terrible. Children
And where-
learn it very quickly, but they also lose it very quickly. So,
Mhm.
Where in Germany did you live?
Munich.
Neat.
Yeah, it was great. But I went back to make a film about 10 years ago in Berlin, and it was a really interesting experience because the synapses would just start firing, and I would go into a store and suddenly know what to say. Be able to suddenly say, without working on it, just was easy.
Wow.
Muscle
Yeah.
memory. Yeah.
Like that.
And you from Pennsylvania? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm from Pittsburgh originally.
Okay. My family's all from Pittsburgh. I was born there as well.
What part?
I was born in Beaver Falls, which is like
Oh yeah, sure.
what? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
One
I
of
was
those
born
little towns.
in Squirrel Hill.
Okay, yeah.
These are some great names. I want to live around there.
Are they all named after vermin?
Raccoon County.
Yeah, it was weird. Pittsburgh was a different place when I was born there, and even when you were. I mean, it was a steel town, a sort of disgusting place, and it's quite nice now. They tell me. I haven't been back in a long time.
Was Carnegie Mellon? Did it feel in reach because you were sort of like a hometown kid? I know Carnegie Mellon.
No. I was 17 and I auditioned for all of those schools that if you're not going to graduate school,
Yeah.
that you at that time auditioned for, which included like North Carolina School of the Arts and Carnegie Mellon and a few others. And I got into Carnegie Mellon. It was just, it just was random that I ended up going to college back where I was born.
Do you remember the pieces you did to get in?
I do. I did a piece from a play by Michael Weller that people really liked in the 70s called The Moon Children. And I did Jaques from As You Like It. I was 17. And I'll tell you about that. We were living by then in Toronto.
Okay.
And my acting teacher had great faith in me. And she said, okay, you're going to do this, Jaques. There's somebody I know who works at the Stratford Festival who, if I call him, he will coach you. But you have to understand he's a really important man. Okay. So you need to be ready for the thing when you go. You're going to go to his house. It was Maurice Evans. Maurice Evans.
Wow.
And I didn't know who that was. I was 17 and I didn't even connect him to Rosemary's Baby or any of these movies he's been in, let alone the fact that he was the definitive Hamlet of the 20th century practically. And I went to his house and I did the thing, and I was so ignorant that I called the character Jacques. I'm going to do Jacques from As You Like. It was terrible, but I didn't care. It was just some old dude. I didn't care about impressing. And he was like, I did the piece once, and he went, "So you want to be in the theater? Are you sure acting is what?"
Wow.
Oh no.
The story doesn't end like you'd like it to end, where he's like, my young man, you're a genius. No, not like that.
I would cast you in that role in a set.
Well, now I would love to do that part. It's I don't have many dream parts, but now that's a part that I would love to do if somebody does that play again. I really long to do it. Yeah.
Okay,
Nice. A couple notes.
It's getting in here. We're starting to kind of like get some Shakespeare needs at Keene Company.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
We've got a King Lear with Chuck Cooper and his daughter Lily Cooper.
Mm-hmm. That's on the table.
As You Like It is right in my wheelhouse, though.
It's a beautiful play, and I think you would do it really well.
Yeah.
I really wanted to be Jaques in college, and instead I got Adam. And I was very good, but
that's the worst thing that can happen to a person in college.
It is.
Adam is 110 years old.
I know, and I did it without Keith.
Oh, perfect.
Is there footage of that anywhere? Is there like, can I see it?
Sadly, no, but
reprise your role when Keen does it?
there's some good footage in here.
But you know, I did do As You Like It. I played Touchstone in As You Like It at the Guthrie in 1994 in, I think, the best production of Shakespeare I'll ever be. I mean, it was just great. Garland Wright directed it.
Oh.
Beth Marvel and Bill Camp played Rosalind and Orlando. And that was like one of the best things that I've ever, although it was filmed with 3 cameras for the Lincoln Center archives. And I'm too scared to look at it because I feel like maybe it wouldn't be as good as I remember it. And so let's leave the memory, but it was amazing.
And so was that your first time working with Bill and Liz?
Yeah, that's where I met them.
Because you've worked with them many times, correct?
Yeah, separately, always separately. I remember when should I tell this story? I got off yeah, I might as well, they would laugh. I got off the plane and somebody from the theater met me and they were driving me to my apartment and they said, well, we're a little worried about this production. And I said, well, why? And they said, well, you know, the last time we did this play, it was Patti LuPone and Val Kilmer. And they were a couple and they broke up right in the middle. And this time, the 2 people were a couple and they broke up last week.
Oh, the curse.
So that resulted in some colorful moments in the rehearsal room. But they were both so brilliant. I mean, and Bill as Orlando, I mean, he's not the usual person for that. And that's what made him so great. Yeah. And I've worked with both of them separately several times each since.
So what was one of your first professional jobs?
I got my equity card doing Mrs. Warren's Profession by Shaw in Miami.
Oh,
okay.
Think about that for a minute. Like South Florida has always been a hotbed of Shavian excitement. It's complete disinterest, but it was an equity card, and I had a hard time getting one. My 20s were really rough, so it was like I finally got something that gave me my equity card, and I got to do a Shaw play. So that's
Shaw, absolutely, absolutely. So you've worked with some like just crazy directors, like amazing directors. Let's sort of first start with a director that we both know and love, Mr. Les Waters.
Oh, he's horrible. I just can't. I was hoping you wouldn't bring it up because I can't abide that guy.
What was the first show y'all worked on together?
He directed Will Eno's play, Tragedy, a Tragedy at Berkeley and invited me to do it. That was the first one. He's a great director. And what a beautiful season he had last year, that last season with those 2 plays in New York.
Yeah.
Lucas Nath's play and, well, both of them were Lucas, weren't they? Yeah, they were. And he's a beautiful man. He's a great man. And he's, you know, he doesn't say much in the rehearsal room. And after he's got a great quality with that because you get the feeling that he's 90% sure that he doesn't like something that you're doing, but he's got a 10% feeling that you may be right. So he's not going to say anything, you know, until he thinks it's the right time to say something. That's a rare quality in a director. You know, he really feels confident to wait and consider that maybe your idea is better. And then at a certain point, then he'll say something. But after the first time I worked with him, the next 2 times, at the end of the first week, both times, some actor who'd never worked with him would come to me and say, can I talk to you? Is he ever going to say anything? And I would always say, you're being directed. Don't worry. And they were all beautiful productions that I did with him, all 3. I did 3 Sisters, Sarah Rule's adaptation. And I did 10 out of 12 at Soho Rep, which was a pretty big deal, I thought.
Oh my God. That was a harrowing production. Harrowing.
Yeah.
I think you were just coming off of it when you went into travels.
I was just coming into that, and I needed a laugh.
I can imagine.
For those of you in the audience, Tom played the director, and I don't know.
No, I didn't. I played the act. I played the lead actor in the play.
Oh no, you got. Oh, I'm sorry. You did play the actor, but
You're remembering him yelling.
No, I'm remembering this. You chewed out the director in a scene that really shook me to my core.
Well, it was an Anne Washburn play, and it was such a great piece of writing because it was not a joke. It was like really, it was all the injustices that actors feel, you know, pouring out. And Anne had the love for actors that she said, we don't need to hear a response. We just need to hear an actor say all this. And it was, I think I was so proud of it. It was hard, but I was really proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
So beautiful. It was so beautiful.
Thank you.
I agree, Greg Sargent. Brilliant performance.
Oh, Greg's so sweet.
Well, Greg Sargent is an amazing actor too, so he knows whereof he speaks.
Mm-hmm.
That's the truth.
So you've also worked a lot with Daniel Fish.
Yeah, he's a great friend of mine now. But that started off as a stormy relationship. You know, this is not Mary Sunshine we're talking about. This is somebody who's, you know, had a very dark sort of presence in the room in the first play we did at Yale Rep. And I had a hard time with him. And I'm so gratified that we've become such good friends and that the subsequent work has been so gratifying. Mm-hmm. Because the first one was really hard for me. It was right around the time when I was wrestling with how to take agency. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that, well, this is a larger subject, but I think we've got a lot to thank young people for right now, because I think they're really having this conversation about what actors can do to create a space where they're free to do what they do. Mm-hmm. I was raised with the idea that you just really didn't have any choice, and that a director could put whatever energy they wanted to into the room, and they could humiliate you or disrespect you, and you either had to put up with it or lose the job. And I was really wrestling with it then, and you know, I still wrestle with it. There's nobody who doesn't wrestle with that, because the other side of that is you never want to be defensive. You know, you never want to come into a room like, who's out to get me or what's, you know. So I think we're like breaking through something right now that I think is really healthy. And my relationship with Daniel is fantastic. It's really great. He's brilliant. That Oklahoma was for the ages, and he's a great director. And we always talk about working again, but he's gotten a little grand. So we'll see.
Well, one thing I always appreciate about you, Tom, is that you bring such smarts into the room, and you are not shy about offering that, and you have incredible instincts, incredible instincts. And I remember that first time working on the Temperamentals, there were just certain things that specifically. I remember you were like, let's try this scene on the radiator, and I was like, okay, great. And of course, it was the exact right thing to do.
Was that my idea? Really? I don't remember that, but I remember that. I remember that first process of the Temperamentals very fondly, because we really were. John Marins, who wrote it, really invited input.
Yeah.
And he didn't ever seem very defensive. He probably went home and cursed me. But I in the room, he really seemed, and we really worked on it and pitched in, and all five of those guys who I loved so much, we all really worked on it. I'm talking about the first version of it. Yeah. So yeah, we all did that.
when we were talking about the temperamentals with Michael Urie, there was someone who was watching who sent me the most lovely email, and I believe he may be watching tonight, Jamie, and he is a radical fairy, and he said how much the show meant to him, and you as Harry Hay. It's amazing how that show just touched a lot of people.
Oh, I'm very moved by that. I cared about it a lot, and I still run into people. I mean, more than any play I've ever done, certainly. I run into people all the time who, not all the time, but, who want to talk about it. And I'm very, I really respect that. And I really cared at the time very deeply about honoring that and not taking it for granted and realizing, in the first two spaces we did were very small and the audience was very intimately involved with us, and you could really see people. And every night I would look out and I would see men in their 70s or 80s who either were alone or in a couple or with friends, but you knew that they had lived this, and nobody'd ever really put it onto the stage or the screen. I don't, even to right now, I can't think of another telling of that story. So I wanted to honor those people, particularly anyone who knew Harry, because Harry's story is so enormous. Somebody should make a great movie about it, because it's just like, it's so big and goes through so many levels of our 20th century journey as gay people.
Well, not many actors can nail that role and sort of inhabit it the way.
Well, thanks.
Did.
Thank you.
Do you enjoy tackling those sort of ensemble pieces? It seems like they've come up a lot in your career. Yeah.
They do, but I also want to be a star.
Of course. Of course.
So you never give me a step back, please, and let me find my light. I know. It is true, but I'm thinking of Dance. You say that, and I think of Dance Nation at the Playwrights Horizons, which was, such a great play by Claire Barron, and the definition of an ensemble piece. I mean, those women were fucking ferocious. They were just great, and the play was great, and I guess I do enjoy that, because you don't feel the individual pressure so hard on your shoulders. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you were in, so the last show you were in before this whole craziness happened a year ago was West Side Story.
Yeah.
And it was an extremely long process. Can you tell us a little bit about your work with Evo and or West Side Story?
Well, I've done 5 shows with Evo. I really love him. I kind of feel like West Side Story is its own story, and then there's the whole other things, because look, there are certain things I can tell you. Certain things, I have a intact NDA, so I need to be careful what I decide to tell you. But somebody should write a book. I mean, I've never experienced anything like that West Side Story. I mean, many of the issues have been made public. It was amazing, but the show is thrilling. The show was thrilling. I don't know whether to talk about it in the past or present tense.
Yeah.
That's so sad to me.
Yeah.
The show is thrilling, and the young people in that show, it's a miracle of casting, because those young people don't have any show business about them. They don't have any false bone at all. They can only tell the truth, and they're giving masterful performances, every one of them. And it's a thrill for me to be in a Broadway musical like that. I never thought I would be. So it was great, but it was. I mean, I have a small part. I have 3 book scenes, so I would stand in the wings and watch while the big numbers happened. We had a big orchestra, like 35-piece orchestra, and it really has that big Broadway sound. And I'm really honored to be there, because it's just my first experiences watching anything on Broadway were musicals. And I never thought I'd have a chance to be near one. So I'm very thankful to Evo for inviting me to do that part, because it gives me this chance.
Is this your first musical? Surely
No,
not.
I think in the 80s, I did in non-equity summer stock a 3-penny opera that was actually pretty good. And
Wow.
but the music was really hard, and it was just hard. But this musical is thrilling. I hope people get a chance to see it. But it was hard. It was a really hard process. People were getting injured. The opening was delayed. It was like Spider-Man or something. And I was like, this is just going on and on and on and on. And if you only have 3 book scenes and they're never working those 3 book scenes, they're working something else. So you just have to come in every day for rehearsal and do your 3 book scenes or sit there. It was like working on a movie. You'd sit in the dressing room and they'd never use you. It was long. It was a long time. But those kids, they're the ones who have to carry the weight of it, not me. And I was very proud to be a part of it. We'll see what happens. I'll tell you, the last week before the shutdown, if anybody who was working on Broadway that week, or maybe, did you have something running then?
We did, yeah. We were doing blues for an Alabama Sky, and we closed. We got through most of our run. We just missed 4 performances.
Well, there were all these rumors going around, and you'd hear a rumor, but none of the rumors were they're shutting down all theater. It just wasn't.
Yeah.
And I remember, it sounds so naive now, but I remember like a couple days before the shutdown, even like the weekend before, one of the crew guys, we have a big rain effect in the show. And one of the crew guys said to me, one of these big IATSE guys, he said, I think we're safer than any of the other shows because the chemicals in our rain kill the virus.
There you go.
And I remember thinking this was really smart and thinking like, oh, that's probably true. That's probably true. They don't have a rain effect at company. So I bet we stay open because the rain effect is killing all, it was so sweet though, in retrospect. Like we were that naive and we left on Wednesday night after the show. I had friends there. We went out for drinks and I just never came back. They invited us to come clear out our dressing rooms like 6 weeks later, and it was like Chernobyl. Everything was where it had been left that night. Nobody had picked up the laundry. Everything was just, towels were draped over chairs. It was the strangest experience I'll ever have in the theater. And we don't know. So
I saw it the day before the shutdown. It was the last show I saw. I saw the Wednesday matinee.
Oh my God, that was the day. That was the day. And to think back on the fact that we didn't know. I woke up Thursday morning and I was looking at social media and people were starting to say, okay, they should just shut down Broadway now. They really need to shut down. And I thought, well, you don't shut down Broadway. I mean, that doesn't happen. And by 3:00 that afternoon, it had happened.
Yeah.
Remember when they said, oh, it's just going to be closed a month, then we'll be back?
Yeah, they have dates. We'll come in to rehearse on this day and then you'll be back on that day. And it's all so sad now. I mean, we can talk about it, but it really breaks my heart. So many people are in this position. And I hate to say it, but I have the feeling you guys will be back before that's back. Because these buildings are so old. And retrofit, we had 1,800 people a night seeing that show. And in an old building with ventilation systems that would need to be. So I pray that's not the case, but
well, I look forward to seeing it. I'm going to believe that it's going to come back and you will be in it because it killed me that I didn't see it.
The first night that it comes back is maybe going to be the most exciting night of my life. If I'm still in it. To be standing in it, I get chills just saying it, to be standing in the wings and hearing that overture and those beginning notes of the jets on the stage. I can't really picture it. It's just so exciting just thinking about it. And I love Evo. I've always loved Evo. I'm sorry, what did you say, Don?
It'll be the most Broadway sound that you'll be able to find, when theaters
so true. It's so true.
So you've worked with Evo, how many? So 5 times?
Yeah.
And what was the first piece you did?
The Misanthrope.
That's right. I saw it.
Okay.
Yeah, with Bill Camp at the workshop.
Yep.
The first 2 were at the workshop, that one and The Little Foxes. The Little Foxes, the Misanthrope was great. They were all great. But the Little Foxes I thought was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and you were in All My Sons, right? Not All My Sons. Wait, were you in? You were in the Crucible.
Do you know who I am?
I do.
Do you remember who I am at all?
I do.
They put my name at the bottom of the screen.
You were in. What was before the Crucible?
Little Foxes, but right after the Crucible, I did View from the Bridge.
That's it.
Yeah, but I didn't do it here in New York. I did it in L.A. at the Amundsen.
Right.
Yeah. Little Foxes was great, but can I tell you a little story about that one? Yeah. People like this story if they hate Evo, because it's a typical like, oh my God, he's crazy. We did a pretty standard production. I mean, it was like a really well-directed version of The Little Foxes, and it took place on a bare set, very beautiful carpeted walls and it was very good. And as we were rehearsing it, we would rehearse like you would any production of that. Greg Sargent was in it, he remembers.
Oh.
And but there was a video screen at the back of the set, but it was never really talked about. I mean, there were no cameras. It wasn't like we didn't know what that was going to be for, and we had enough to worry about doing The Little Foxes in front of it. So we did it, and then they told us at some point that the idea was the show was going to go 2 hours with no intermission. And you know what it's about, right? It's about a family fighting over money issues.
Mm-hmm.
And after somebody dies. Their intention, Ivo and Jan, was to, during the 2 hours that the play would happen, on the screen back there, the audience would see in real time a lamb being slaughtered, skinned, butchered, cooked, and then Beth would bring on a big platter in the last scene the meat onto the stage and we would eat it. Now, this was, and they got a farm upstate to agree to this idea.
Oh, God.
They went up and they filmed it.
And did that lamb get their equity card?
I don't think it lasted long enough to get his equity card. And the first preview, it went in to the show. And we were like, what's happening with this audience? You know, the audience was like, you'd look out and they'd be like, you know, like this. And you'd be like, what? I think we're doing nice work. I don't understand. And then you'd see it lasted two previews. And then I think Jim Nicola was like, what are we going to do? We can't have a lamb slaughtered up. Nobody's watching the play. It's like, you know, it's like, to this day, I think, Evo, maybe that was a bit of a reach. And they took it out, and then it was great. The show was great.
I love that it was a reveal even to the cast. Like, sounds like you guys didn't quite know what was going to happen until the end.
Well, we didn't really care because it was on, you know, we were doing The Little Foxes. It didn't matter.
Wow.
But I love the man so deeply. And before I ever worked with him, just seeing his previous work, I thought he would be a tyrannical, you know, table turning over, mean, aggressive. He's such a loving man.
Like Johnny is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Johnny and like Les Waters.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's really loving and he loves actors and he knows that fear really does not get actors to open up. And so he's very, very loving and kind for the most part. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
His production of Streetcar, and then first of all, Streetcar was probably, I almost can't see Streetcar anymore because it was so good.
Yeah.
Cassavetes' opening night at BAM.
Oh yeah, wasn't that good?
Oh my God.
And I also loved his Angels in America, and I loved his Hedda Gabler.
Yep.
They were all marvelous, and I wanted to work with him so bad. And I really felt at my audition like, if this man thinks I'm bad, it'll really hurt my feelings. I really want this man's approval. I want him to think I'm good.
Well, there's a story where you had an audition and you got a role.
That's right. That's the exception that proves the rule.
All right.
Mm-hmm. But I never auditioned again for him. After that, I had to audition for the Crucible because Scott needed to see me.
Mm-hmm.
And when Scott calls, you go.
Mhm.
You don't say I'm off or only. You don't do that.
What was it like working with a wolf in the Crucible?
I had nothing to do with the wolf, but these things are all revealed at the first rehearsal.
Right.
That's what it sounds like. Wow.
And so at the first rehearsal, he's like showing the scenery and so forth, and a storm's going to come, and this is going to happen, and that's going to happen. And he's talking very fast in his accent, and then he's like, and then we're going to have a wolf, and I'm like, what? What did he say? He said, what? We're going to have a what? And somebody said, sounded like he said wolf. Isn't that funny? We had a wolf. The wolf had a dressing room. The wolf had a driver. The wolf had its own apartment because it was from Seattle.
Out of town housing for the wolf.
What? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Out of town housing. Wow.
Oh my God.
It was a dog because a wolf is illegal. So you have to get you have to get a dog that can serve wolf.
Mm-hmm.
That is so funny.
I'm gonna start asking for that when we get back in shape. I want livestock.
Wolves. Yeah.
Well, for your Shakespeare, it would be good. For your As You Like It,
As You Like It,
she's like a shepherdess, isn't she? That
Absolutely, yep. It would totally make sense.
Yeah.
Or even in not.
Yeah.
You could do a gurney play that just randomly has a wolf in it. Why not?
Think outside the box.
Yeah, but people will know you stole that, guys. That wolf is so notorious. People ask me about the temperamentals and the goddamn wolf. Those are the two things that people ask me about.
Yeah. Maybe we can do the dining room and we can have a lamb being slaughtered for 2 hours.
Hey, listen, that never made it to opening night. People don't know about it. You can use that idea. Yeah.
That one's ours now.
I am really sad I missed that first. Wow.
I feel like the clean version of that would be like sea turtles being put back into the wild or something. Like an oddly positive.
Little baby sea turtles, yeah.
Yeah, a big-hearted version of that.
Yeah.
A less cynical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like dogs getting reconnected with their owners after they come back from war.
That's right, in slow-mo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So your first Keen show was Oppenheimer.
Oh, yeah, that was really good. That was really good.
it was
Did you
a
see that, Johnny?
I did. It was a beautiful, beautiful production at the Connolly.
Yeah, I really liked that. Yeah, it was good. That
Carl
was good.
was so smart. It was a courtroom drama, and he sort of shifted everything so everyone was facing out and doing the entire show, and it was so, man, that was amazing.
Yeah, that could have not worked. It was a very brave decision, and it worked really great. And the play was great. I loved that. I really loved that.
So good. I think that was one of the last shows at the Connolly. I may be wrong. Keen Company shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your cousin just wants to remind you that when you were 10, you came to visit and you tap danced and sang together as Sullivan.
She's lying, Susan, that never happened. And it could have happened. I guess it could have happened.
So that was your first musical.
Yeah.
I guess me and Susan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Susan is great. She's part of my family that I mean, my parents are both gone, so I have some relatives around the country I'm very happy to still be in touch with, especially when they bother me on my YouTube video.
We're getting the real dirt.
You didn't ask about the wolf. I mean,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's about that time. Maybe we can break out the question bowl.
The lightning round? Okay.
I think we're there.
This is the Keen question bowl. It's filled with just random tidbit questions. I'm going to pull them out at random. We're going to put you in the hot seat. I know it's very intense.
This is like your version of a Wendy Williams game. Where you're like,
We're going to reveal fraternities. Okay, let's see. Ooh, best advice you were ever given. This can be theater related or not theater related.
I was given the advice when I made my first movie that I should not be theatrical, that I should be really quiet. And this is really cliche advice that theater actors get when they do their first time in front of a camera.
Mhm.
And it wasn't helpful at all. It really screwed with my
That's
head.
favorite.
So I
Yeah.
was like constantly like whispering, and they were like, "Why is he whispering?" It was like it wasn't helpful. So that's bad advice.
Yeah.
But it would be good advice if I saw a young actor doing that. I would give that advice.
Okay. I love that. Okay.
It didn't work for me, but it doesn't make it bad advice.
What do you look for in a part? This is interesting. You've played quite a wide range of characters.
Well, I really like new plays.
Mhm.
I've really been very lucky in the last 10 years or so with new plays.
Mhm.
And so I'm always really excited reading a new play script, and I'll forgive it, a lot of flaws or some things that confuse me, because the process of working on a new play is so great. My favorite one that I did, I have to say, was this play that I just did called Eureka Day.
Oh,
Did you guys hear about it? It was by Colt Coeur, and it was at Soho Rep. And it's a brilliant play by Jonathan Spector, and I think it's going to have a future life.
Oh,
Believe
good.
it or not, it was about vaccinations and
Whoa.
about parents being hesitant after a mumps breakout in a school, private school, them resisting allowing their children to get vaccinated. So be a different play now, wouldn't it?
yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Okay. All right. What else we got? Let's see. Are you a breakfast, lunch, or dinner person?
I don't eat breakfast, and I don't eat breakfast. I don't like it. And when I told my mother-in-law that I don't like to eat breakfast, and my husband, who's very, very skinny, likes to eat an enormous breakfast, she's French, and she said, "Well, why he looks like this and you look like that?" Nice to meet you, ma'am. Charmed, I'm sure. Yeah.
Fire.
Do you have a bucket list item, something you've always wanted to do that you haven't done yet?
Yeah, I really like to travel, and I sure have been thinking about that lately. I really would like to go to Japan. I really want to go to the Far East. I went to India. That was a bucket list thing.
Wow.
And that was amazing, except I got really sick there. But that's hardly a unique story.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody told me that India stands for "I'll never do it again."
I've never heard that. But
Yeah, I think that's pretty funny. I really love the place, but I'll never do it again.
Well, you've also probably performed at almost every major regional theater across the country. So
I have. I've worked at most of those theaters. Yeah. I've really loved that. I've loved doing that. Yeah.
Wow. Do you have a favorite book?
I'm not good reading fiction.
Mhm.
I have a bad attention span for that. So I have like a very old man's taste in reading, which is biographies of presidents, political books, stories about the war. I'm like that. Like your grandpa's reading list.
I love that.
That's pretty much my reading list too. Although,
Oh, is that true?
yes.
Well,
Although
all that-
I have to
you're
take
part
my
of it.
grandpa.
Yeah.
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 Okay, this is interesting because I wonder. The question is, what do you keep in your dressing room? And I wonder if anything was still there when you went back in West Side Story that had gone bad.
Yeah. No, I always start off thinking this time I'm going to be really neat in the dressing room. I put that towel down that they give you that never serves any real purpose, and you put things on it, and then it's filthy within a couple days. And I put up pictures, and I do all of that, and then it's just a mess by the end of like the first week. I'm just bad at making that my home. But what do I always like to have there? Danny Woolahan, who I shared a dressing room with in West Side Story, figured out what you need to buy, which is this chair that doesn't take up much space, but then it opens into a bed. So if you ever, even in a really small dressing room like we each had these two things, and that I'm really upset because it's still over there at the Broadway Theater. If I get another job, I'm going to go get the damn thing because it's invaluable for those of us of a distinguished age.
I'm impressed.
The pictures you put up, are they the same pictures every time, or are they to do with the show?
No, no. I don't put up like pictures of people who inspire me for my part so that I can light candles and get ready. No, I'm not like that. Commune with my, no. No, they're just things to keep me lighthearted during stress.
Yeah.
Whatever that is at the moment, and that changes.
So you're not making collages that you like put up that will inspire you.
No, I just decide to push, and that's what I do in my acting when I'm unsure. I just push, and I come out and fake it. That's what I do.
The best advice you were ever given.
Oh my God, you guys, it's such a joy to spend this time with you.
Okay, I have one big final question for you. Do you remember what the first play or musical, first show you saw was as a kid or as a young person?
Well, when I lived in Pittsburgh, there was those Broadway productions that were traveling. So I remember Fiddler on the Roof. I remember that. But what I really remember as a first was my dad brought me to New York in 1976. I was 13, and we saw a weekend of shows. And those shows were the original company of A Chorus Line.
Oh my God.
The original company of Chicago with Gwen Verdon and Chita Rivera, and the 25th anniversary production of My Fair Lady. And those, I will never forget sitting in the back row of the Schubert Theater watching, because I knew the record inside and out, and of A Chorus Line. And to see those people, Donna McKechnie and Priscilla Lopez and all of those voices that I knew from the album right there in front of me, I mean, it really blew my head off and made me very romantic about the idea of Broadway, which I came to very late in life. And I never take that for granted when I go to work in one of those buildings. I'm like, I'm so lucky.
What a trifecta of shows to see as your first Broadway weekend.
Yeah. Totally. My dad was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Tom, it has been such a pleasure having you on tonight. First of all, I wish you good health and all those good things, but really look forward to seeing your work soon and working with you again.
I can't wait to work with you again. It's the happiest experience working at your theater, and I'm so proud of you all for keeping going during this horrible, horrible time.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful accomplishment.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. It means a lot.
Bye, guys. Take
Great
care.
to see you.
Great to see you too.
Oh, man.
It was great.
As always, I wish we could do this for like 3 hours.
Truly, I can't get over the lamb. I think that is that's your favorite after hours anecdote.
Next after hours, we should just stream in a lamb. We won't mention it.
Just right in the corner.
Boxes.
Right in the corner there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Huh. I bet we could get that footage.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then at the very end, we each bring a plate on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. We can make it happen. Well, we won't have a lamb next week. We might need some time to make that happen. But we do have the amazing Jennifer Ashley Tepper next week, who first became involved with Keen after our production of Tick, Tick, Boom, and who is a friend of Keen and a fantastic theater historian, really keeping some amazing history of New York theater alive. I can't wait to have that conversation. So excited.
I can't wait. I think it's going to be great. She's I love the juxtaposition of Thomas J. Ryan and Jennifer Ashley Tepper. It's good. Perfect.
100%.
So let's see. We had a big week last week. We released Digging in the Dark by Pearl Clegg, which is our next piece of audio theater in our Here Now season. Ashley, tell the good folks at home how one could listen to Digging in the Dark.
Well, sure. You can go to our website, www.keencompany.org. Maybe you're on it right now. And you can listen for free to the full show, Digging in the Dark. It's about 35 to 40 minutes. We encourage you to embrace the full experience, dim the lights, find a comfy chair. We consider this audio theater just as exciting and satisfying as a night at the theater. So dig in, put in your earbuds, listen to some great off-Broadway. Now, if you don't want to stream on our website, maybe you're on the go, you can find Digging in the Dark on any popular podcast app. Search for Here, HEAR/now, or Keen Company on Apple, on Spotify, on Google, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find it. So it's all totally free. Check out our website for more, and we hope you enjoy it. It's by Pearl Clegg, one of our favorite acclaimed playwrights, who, of course, brought us Blues for an Alabama Sky, which we were in production a year ago today.
Yep.
So it's nice to have her back.
It's such a beautiful piece. It is like such a feast for your ears. It takes place in the woods outside Atlanta, and it has just this amazing sound design by Fan Zhang that really just transports you.
It's exciting. We have 3 more audio plays to be premiered this season, so stay tuned. And of course, we're here every Monday chatting to amazing theater people like Thomas J. Ryan, who's a literal legend, who's produced, and performed in every theater across the country and in New York. So if you like more theater people, we'll see you next Monday.
And if you like theater legends, we've got something really exciting coming up on March 13th, which is just a couple weeks away. Kathleen Chalfant, who has been an After Hours guest, will be reading The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion. And that is a special benefit broadcast. You can find that info on our website. Tickets are only $25. And, boy, I feel so grateful to have all these theater legends at Keen.
Truly dream casts.
Yeah, truly. Well, I guess this is it for After Hours this week. So thank you for joining us. And as we always like to say, we look forward to seeing you at the virtual theater soon. Good night.